6 p.m., a quiet final meal with his wife. 7 p.m., appeals ended by his own hand. No resistance, no escape, only one final request: ashes. 5 jolts, 17 minutes. It wasn't supposed to last that long. Burning flesh. Smoke fills the room. This is how William Vandiver spent his last 24 hours. A dim evening light slipped through the iron bars of Indiana State Prison. It didn't settle. It stretched, dragging long, fading shadows across the floor. Outside the door, the corridor stayed locked in silence. No rush, no chaos, no change. Only the distant movement of guards in the background. William Vandiver opened his eyes. No sudden movement, no reaction, just a slow awareness returning to a place he already knew too well. The cell hadn't changed, but everything about it felt different, because there was nothing left it could lead to. Years ago, the outcome had already been locked in. On July 29, 1985, the Indiana Supreme Court made it clear that he fully grasped what he was surrendering, and there was no turning back from it. Competent. One word, clean, final, irreversible. After that, the system stopped offering exits. No appeals, no pauses, no hidden chances waiting in paperwork. Just a straight road narrowing into silence. He sat on the edge of the bunk, still, controlled, detached, but something underneath, quieter than fear, harder to name, harder to stop. Just the pressure of time arriving all at once, like the room itself had started holding its breath. Footsteps cut through the silence of death row. A guard approached his cell. No warning, no build-up, just the routine words every condemned man knows too well. The warrant is active. Vandiver nodded. No questions followed, because he had already made peace with the answer months ago. On this block, they weren't just movement. They were signals, measured, steady, getting closer. Vandiver didn't move at first. He opened his eyes, but he didn't turn immediately. Because in a place like this, you learn the difference between routine and arrival. This wasn't routine. Metal shifted. A controlled sound. A familiar one. A guard stood there, still, unreadable. William was being prepared. No explanation followed. None was needed. He sat up, slowly, not confused, not resisting, just aware. The kind of awareness that comes when time is no longer ahead of you, but closing in from all sides. This was it. Not the end yet, but the beginning of the end. And in that sequence, there was one step the system never skipped. Before anything else, he would meet his spiritual advisor, not for comfort, not for rescue, but as a ritual, as a structure, the final human moment before everything became procedure. He stood, steady, no hesitation in his movement, because hesitation belongs to people who still have choices. The corridor waited outside, same walls, same dim lights, but today it carried a different weight. Each step forward wasn't just movement, it was a direction, a path narrowing with every second. The air felt tighter here. Even the echoes didn't linger. They disappeared too quickly, like the place refused to hold on to anything for long. At the end of the walk, a door opened. Inside, a small room, bare, still, a man sat across from an empty chair, the one waiting for him. Vandiver stepped in, paused, then took the seat. For a moment, nothing happened. No introductions, no formalities, just two people, sitting at the edge of something irreversible. Then the advisor spoke, softly, measured, not trying to change what was coming, only to meet it. Vandiver listened, fully, not searching, not questioning, just present. Because by now, There was nothing left to solve. Outside, the prison continued its rhythm, unchanged, uninterrupted. But inside that room, time shifted, slowed just enough to mark the moment where everything became final. The visiting room was colder than it should have been, not from the air, from what was coming. A quiet understanding. No tomorrow, no undoing, just finality. 2 chairs, a plain table, and a silence that didn't sit still. It dominated the space. This was his final wish, to meet his wife. One last time. Marianne sat across from him, still, composed, quiet, but not unaffected. Because silence like this doesn't arrive empty. It arrives carrying everything that was never resolved. William Vandiver entered without hesitation. He sat down slowly, a man whose body was following a conclusion his mind had already accepted long before this room. The door closed. Soft, final, and everything changed instantly. Not in sight, in wait. Silence took over completely, not empty, absolute. Full of years that could not be revisited. Full of words that no longer had a place to go. He looked at her. The room didn't feel like a reunion. It felt like containment. 2 people who had already crossed a line, now sitting at the edge of another. She watched him carefully, not emotionally, observational, like she was trying to understand what had changed and what hadn't. Because this wasn't the man from that night. But he wasn't someone new either. It was what was left. Years inside a controlled environment had done something to him. Flattened reactions, removed urgency, reduced everything to process. In prison, time doesn't move forward. It compresses, repeats, strips things down until only essentials remain. And for Vandiver, control became the last essential. No outbursts, no breakdowns, no visible fear. Because once you give the system your body, the only thing left to protect is how you meet the end. Across the table, she understood that. Maybe better than anyone else. Because she had made the same choice once. Control over consequence. And now, they were both sitting inside it. Everything rewinds. March 20th, 1983. Night. A father-in-law. But inside that house, the title had already stopped meaning safety. The home is quiet on the surface, but inside that atmosphere, something has already been decided, not outside forces, a closed circle turning inward on one man asleep in his bed. Years of tension underneath it all, arguments that never fully ended, and something else beneath it. Money, a life insurance policy, an estate worth $90,000. Pressure didn't explode, it settled. Day after day, argument after argument, until intent stopped feeling like a decision and started feeling inevitable. Then movement. 2 figures enter the room, no warning, no time to react. A sleeping man, unaware that this is the last moment of ordinary breath. The first strike breaks everything at once. A knife, 34 times, close, controlled, final. Then blunt force follows, a gun used not to fire, but to crush. 5 to 6 impacts to the head, until the body no longer responds. But the act doesn't stop there, it shifts. Cold calculation replaces violence, a hacksaw, dismemberment, separation of what was once a human life into silence and fragments. Packed into plastic bags, removed from the room, disposed near Lake Michigan. And then everything falls still again. Not that night, not that house. Faces blur, time folds. Until suddenly, he blinks. Cold reality returns. He is back there, sitting across from the same woman who stood beside everything that led here. The glass between them feels heavier than anything in the past ever did. Without panic, without chaos, without searching, without reaching. Only presence, like a final acknowledgement of something that could no longer be altered. Then he spoke. Calm voice, low tone, steady rhythm. No anger underneath it, no regret breaking through it. Only clarity, refined over time until everything unnecessary had fallen away. He spoke about what was coming, free of fear, free of doubt, non-negotiable. Not as something approaching, but as something already in motion, already accepted, already beyond interruption. Each sentence landed without resistance, and then he said it. He was ready. The words didn't echo, they settled, heavy, clean, irreversible. Marianne didn't move, didn't interrupt, because nothing in that room was asking to be changed anymore, only witnessed. And in that silence, the ending didn't arrive suddenly. It had already been arriving for a long time. This was simply the moment it became visible. Back in his cell, Vandiver received his last meal. Just a tray placed down like it was any other day. Simple, ordinary, pizza, no ceremony, no special request list. Just something warm before the cold final step. Earlier, he had already shared part of it with the only person still tied to him, by law, by memory, by the slow passage of years that had narrowed into this single point. Now there was only what remained. He looked at it for a long time, not as food, not as comfort, but as confirmation. This was it, the last thing the day would ever give him. He didn't reach for it immediately because hunger wasn't part of him anymore. Time was. Every second felt closer than the last, not moving forward, but closing in. No tomorrow. That thought didn't arrive loudly. It settled, slow, certain, final. He finally picked up the slice, not to taste it, not to enjoy, but because there was no reason to rush anymore. Nothing awaits ahead. Only the quiet certainty that every bite was one step closer to the end. The chair waited, cold metal, rigid straps, a silence that didn't belong to the room, but to what the room represented. He was brought in. No urgency in his movements anymore. Guards guided him to sit down. He sat. The straps followed, wrists first, then chest, then legs. One by one, locking away any remaining distance between body and outcome. Metal tightened. Buckles clicked. He didn't move against it, didn't test it. There was nothing left to test. The room held its breath in machinery and protocol. The voltage was set. 2,300 volts first. The switch stood ready. He did not move, did not speak, did not look around. Only stillness remained as the last adjustments were made. Then the switch was thrown. The current surged through. First hit, immediate, total, then it broke. Not ended, interrupted. A single overwhelming force meant to end it in one moment. And came again. Another surge, same force, same body. Witnesses didn't describe stillness. They described something unstable, uneven, dragged out beyond what it should have been. Second application, 500 volts, lower number, longer consequence, lower but not lighter, just delayed, just added after everything had already crossed its limit. Then again, and again. Each surge arrived like it couldn't find the point where it was supposed to stop. The room didn't settle. It was held, suspended in something unfinished, as if the ending had been reached but not accepted. Inside the chamber, the moment lost its shape. It didn't move forward, it repeated. Power, then a pause, then power again. Each cycle breaking whatever sense of ending should have come with the first. Officials didn't stop. They followed the procedure, step by step, again and again, until it reached its conclusion. No hesitation, no deviation, just a continuation. Outside the glass, witnesses stood still. No whispers, no reactions. Not out of calm, but uncertainty. Because the moment didn't end cleanly, it stretched, blurred between attempts. No one spoke first, because no one knew when it had truly ended. A final check was made. By then, the movement had stopped. No more cycles, no more resets. The room settled into stillness, not sudden but gradual, as everything finally came to a halt. Officials stepped in. They checked for responses, for breath, for any remaining sign of life. There was none. Only after that, the words were spoken. William Vandiver was pronounced dead. 17 minutes after the first surge, 17 minutes that did not pass cleanly. They stretched through pauses, through repetition, through a process that took longer than it was meant to. And in the end, it was the stillness that confirmed it. In the witness room, silence held longer than expected. Not calm, not peace, just delay. Then a voice broke it. A lawyer, measured, controlled. He described what he saw: smoke, burning, a smell that didn't leave when the current did. It stayed, hanging in the air after everything else had stopped. He didn't exaggerate, didn't soften it. He called it unacceptable. No one responded immediately. Others used different words: procedure, protocol, standard execution. Clean terms for something that hadn't felt clean. The state stood by it, defended it, filed it under normal. But in that room, normal didn't settle. Because what they had seen didn't close neatly. It ended. The body was handled next, carefully, systematically, as it had already been decided. Before the chair, before the current, before the ending itself. The instruction was not new. It had been recorded earlier, a final request made while time still felt like it belonged to him. Cremation, a choice made in advance of everything that followed. Now it was simply carried out. The body was prepared according to protocol. Step by step, everything was completed. No hesitation remained, only what comes next. William Vandiver never asked for mercy, never claimed innocence. One request, nothing left. Ashes, it was supposed to take seconds. It took 17 minutes, time stretched, beyond expectation, justice, or something else. No one answered, only silence.